times for me.
I mean, on the greatest day of your life, you're looking to, well, getting a couple of results, aren't you? Those were those loot bet odds at the top, and realistically, no surprises right there. HELLRAISERS firm favourites in the best of one.
Yeah, the odds really showing what we've been talking about. HELLRAISERS have just been on form recently, and they should just come into this one and take it with relative ease. Stomp's found himself an early pick, gets instantly traded though, and that actually grants HELLRAISERS quite a lot of control over towards ramp. They don't even need to commit to it. They can fall off, and they've already applied a whole load of pressure to HONORIS just with their presence. They can now start to fall back, head back towards B. HONORIS have rotated a lot of players over early, but they seem to have a read on the situation. Neo's called the rotations back, and they've actually got 3 players here to deal with this push coming in from the T's now.
Well, JLM is going to open things up. They're even trading in the 3 versus 3. As Raiko needs to hold down the line on the B side. Needs some further headshots, but it's just not coming through as Kalinka chips in one more time. They're lining up for him here. Prism's going to hit the deck. And that's HELLRAISERS up to an easy pistol on the B-bomb site. Nicely just connecting with their shots, applying the pressure in all of the right places. And now it's time for HONORIS to try and battle back from behind. I wonder if they're going to go for a buy here in the second. Don't think so. No, it's actually late scouts coming through. I'm sure that we'll see a couple of deagles come in as well. MP9. 5-7 here. Actually, a bit of a lack of deagles here. I think Taz might actually have the only Desert Eagle that we'll see on this squad. You see the pretty little knives on the HUD, but yeah, there we go. 5-7 deagle. A bit of a jumble sale buy here for the second.
Oh, excited there. Yeah, I think Prism's sort of overstaying his welcome a little bit, staying on this angle. It's quite unfortunate that HONORIS weren't able to actually convert that pistol round, considering they had such a fantastic read on the situation. HELLRAISERS are just overwhelming right now as they push onto this B site as well. This should just be a complete clean-up. I mean, it's Kalinka to do it all. He doesn't need any support from his teammates. The flash from JR is absolutely perfect, and he's able to clean up 3. HONORIS aren't going to be able to find anything in this round. This investment is null and void, and all the best Prism can hope for is either to save this scout. Maybe he can catch off this AK on JLM and bring that into the next round. Don't see it happening though.
Coming in and trying to apply some economic pressure. This is AK-47 retrieved, but HELLRAISERS able to slide back inside. That's an easy second round there. Fairly minimal reinvestments needed into this third as well. That's going to be a nice bank buffer round here for HELLRAISERS, just to build that money up before we get into round number 3 right here. Kalinka really just being the main difference maker there, and nicely removing all of the investment from the server for HONORIS. A lot of the time, if you allow a scout through here and a Desert Eagle through there, there's the opportunity to actually do some bonus damage here in this third. We see that the investment is fairly null and void from the Poles. They don't have a single set of Kevlar carried into this third, and realistically, this should be a very clean round for HELLRAISERS, an opportunity for them to build that money, which right now they haven't had a massive chance to do so. You see that JR's starting to farm that cash up to 4K already. Rank 10 is the only point of contention here. If they could get rid of that, that would be acceptable for me, but as soon as you start dropping AKs and forcing reinvestments into the next rounds, this is where things start to get messy. Can't see too many issues here for HELLRAISERS. In all fairness, that's a very, very clean round once again. 3-0, lots of money carried through, and they do only get rid of the SMG.
Yeah, it's very good there. They've actually lost a Galil, but JR gets a couple of kills with that Mac 10, picks up the Galil, so they're at no real deficit going into round number 4 investment-wise. They've got everything to work with, plenty of utility, and some of these players as well that have racked up those kills with those SMGs and are actually yet to die, are sitting on 6k on Kalinka, 8.5k on JR. This is really dominant so far from HELLRAISERS. If they can convert this buy round, they might just be able to snowball this one. Look at this, oh my goodness, Stomp. We didn't quite catch that one, but I saw them on the mini-map right next to each other. Must have been a hell of a no-scope for him to convert it. Gives HONORIS the man advantage that they need. Some damage dealt early on to some of these HELLRAISERS players as well. Might make things a little more difficult. For now, though, they just need to focus on leveling out these numbers. And well, getting this kill onto Neo would be a good opportunity to do so.
This is a massively important round for the Poles. Finding that opening frag does definitely open up the opportunity to turn the scoreline in their favor. On the CT side, realistically, you don't need that many rounds. But Neo, nevertheless, trying to paint in the damage. A couple of quick kills here being the sole anchor of this B-bomb site. I don't think that this single-handed attack, just moving through one by one, is going to get the job done. Nevertheless, Flaric, a 1 versus 3 here after eliminating Neo. That smoke's going to be fairly difficult and give him a path onto the B site. But I don't think any option to plant this bomb, and Taz is going to end things. 1-3, HONORIS, a good round here. This is where they have to chain a couple together, get that money back up to acceptable territory. I think they're going to scrap to get a buy onto Neo, probably without all too much utility. You see that Prism, Taz, they actually have barely any nades. Taz, well, it's a smoke double flash. Prism has nothing to work with.
Wow, HONORIS. That's quite an important round for them to convert, actually. It means that they've got plenty of money coming into this one. HELLRAISERS having to buy down to that reserve cash, but now they've got an AWP available and it's on JR, a very dangerous man to wield that weapon. Those smokes allow them to take quite a lot of control over toward ramp early on. The issue is they don't know if anyone's behind them. They have to approach with caution. In the meantime, Flaric getting that drop in on mid. The aggression from Neo might just catch them off in the back lines if they're not careful. They need to speed this one up if Neo's going to continue to aggress. He's actually not. This gives HELLRAISERS a lot of leg room to work with. They've taken loads of control early on, and there's no potential for a flank anymore.
Lots of time on the board. 60 seconds left. And heading over towards all portions of the map means, well, with a minute remaining, I think HELLRAISERS are just going to gun for these opening frags. Throw a couple of smokes down to give them a little bit of space on ramp. And with 40 seconds now remaining, they will be gunning for this opening frag onto Prism. Neo already doing the damage towards B. That's a very worthwhile frag. There's the collapse from Prism. And this one's starting to fall apart from HELLRAISERS. There's another kill from the AK. As Flaric is only able to find the one in response. Pretty much round over here. JR now considering the save, unable to do so with Neo applying the pressure from behind. That's a second on the board for HONORIS.
Interesting to see that Neo ran straight over that AWP as well. They could have had the potential for a double setup. Instead, they choose against it. HONORIS have looked pretty convincing in these last couple of rounds. It's quite nice to see them close this gap that HELLRAISERS initially established, especially considering HELLRAISERS came into this one so hot. They took that 3-round lead, and of course, it racked up their money. They kept so many players alive in those rounds too. Kalinka on this hero AK in round number 6. Looking to try and do some work with it alongside these Deagles. The issue is he's the only man with Kevlar. If these Deagles had Kevlar behind them as well, maybe they can drop a rifle and then they have a lifeline to work with. Instead, they're just going to get mowed down. Taz finds himself at first. The swing comes through and Problem's able to trade it, but goes right back the other way as Stomp and Ryko shut down that mid-aggression. It's denied at the door, and now JLM and Kalinka have to try and pick up the pieces. Realistically, I don't think there's any chance of them winning this round. I think just damage would be fantastic. A bomb plant would be even better. Neo's denying that further though, and JLM left in an impossible situation. Might be able to get one onto Neo here. He whiffs a little bit. Nah, it's still not going to happen. That's unfortunate. That was a good opportunity for him to get another kill into this round, but I don't think that's going to happen now. Flash comes through, he gets taken out, and HONORIS level the scoreline up 3-3. We now sit as we go into round number 11. I don't think there's going to be a buyout here from HELLRAISERS as well. I'm not... Okay, they are going into this one. I'm not quite sure why Kalinka had that AK going into that round, to be honest. He had very little money behind it. It means that actually he's just going to be get down to the Galil. Very limited utility for him as well. I'm not sure if I like this buy from HELLRAISERS. If they change the pace here and they use these weapons in a different way, then maybe this could work. But in the last couple of rounds, they've had a much stronger buy than this, and they've been completely destroyed. For now, it looks like they're just going for the same setup. So, I'm not sure how this is going to work out for them. Realistically, they just need to find these opening picks. I think JLM just spotted out the AWPer there. He'll be lucky to still be alive. He's not going to continue to contest that angle. Instead, just going to play it far deeper. Wow. Still very, very slow stuff. Minute left on the clock. This boost going to come in from Flourish, and it gets completely denied by Raiko. A man advantage again for HONORIS early on. Make that a two-man as Neo finds one more. I think HELLRAISERS are already out of this round. This is so unfortunate for them. Well, this timeout gives us an opportunity to talk about our partners over at Hellcase. Use code MALTAV15 for a refill bonus over there. Fantastic, trusted site that you can have some fun with opening some CS cases. Much better odds than actually opening the cases in-game.
Yeah, and, well, actually looking at this game, HELLRAISERS doing a good job to get to 3 early. HONORIS bouncing back with more. That's 4. And realistically, at this point, HONORIS do hold a bit of a short lead in this first half. You've got to question the Vertigo pick. Here in a best of 1, you get 3 bans in a row, the opportunity to force your opponents onto quite an unstable map. I would say that Vertigo is a bit of a danger map for HELLRAISERS, considering HONORIS have posted some of their best results on this particular turf. Well, realistically, we're seeing exactly why. CT side seems to be a virtue for the Poles. Able to put down 4 quickies, a couple of tactical pauses as well to break the pace. As we get back into the action in the next couple of moments, this is where HELLRAISERS need to find a couple before this half concludes. Of course, they've got a lot of time to be able to make this happen. With the pistols here in round number 8, I really can't see it being too realistic. I don't think the buy is going to be too good. There's actually a technical pause as well. As we always say, Jay, what would online CS be without technical pauses?
Well, it wouldn't be online CS, would it? Just every game seems to be cursed with it, wherever you are. Jumping back to those map picks, though, you're absolutely right. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I've just had a look at the previous win percentages. I have no idea how HONORIS have managed to get onto Vertigo here. In a scenario where you ban, it really feels like HELLRAISERS have banned maps that they're good on. They banned Dust 2, which they're fantastic on. They banned Train, which they're really good on. And they've ended up on Vertigo, which is actually one of their worst maps alongside Mirage. And it's one of the best maps for HONORIS. So if there's any chance of HONORIS taking this one, it's definitely been given to them. I don't really know. I'm quite confused as to how we've ended up on Vertigo. Obviously, with this best of 1 format, how the banning works, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me looking at how this has panned out.
No, absolutely not. You look at HELLRAISERS bans, they've banned out Overpass, Dust 2, Train. Those are fairly shaky maps for HONORIS. When you look at their specific turf that they're comfortable or uncomfortable on, Vertigo isn't even really one of their better maps. I would have much preferred HELLRAISERS on Dust 2 here. I know that their win rate isn't absolutely show-stopping on any map really apart from Nuke. I think this is a bit of a disrespect pick in the veto stage for HELLRAISERS, saying, right, we're just going to get a little bit of practice on Vertigo. We want to increase our stability on a map like this, so we're going to let it slip in. We know it's one of your best maps. Nevertheless, we'll play it here in a best of 1. When you look at HONORIS' matches and their history, they've lost just so many best of 3s and best of 1s in a row that I don't think that HELLRAISERS are going to be paying the underdogs much respect in this specific series. Look at Vertigo. It's, well, by far and away HONORIS' best map. Not really a world-beating win percentage on it either. when you're considering that, yeah, their best map, they've only got 44% win rate on, that's pretty shaky all across the board.
Yeah, it's really a showcase of their performance recently. It's very upsetting to see some of these ex-major attendee players, actually not only major attendees, but taking some of the top spots at those major events, in such a slump right now. And HELLRAISERS looking like they might even be able to convert this eco round. This would be dire for HONORIS if this goes the way of HELLRAISERS, just for them to level things up and actually get back into this one off of the back of just a couple of deagles. This flank coming in from Kalinka might just be the thing that shuts it down. There we go. Freebie onto Stomp. That's the AWP out of the equation. Taz is able to trade it back, but a 2 versus 1. Taz is down to 13 HP. I think he just tries to grab this AWP and get out of here. It's actually been blown away. Where's that AWP gone? It was on the platform. Oh, that's a shame.
Problem definitely looked like confused by that one as well. No AWP to be grabbed. 4-4. Still all to play for on our first best of one of this group stage. I really do like the whole format of the Malta vibes. As we said earlier, we're into week 8 at this point, so everybody's pretty familiar with what's going on right about now. We play each group each day, and we get further into the tournament, play those playoffs where there's $40,000 up for grabs. Lots and lots of cash for these winning teams, and realistically, I think Gambit Youngsters have taken home most of that at this point. See if they can have another good performance here in week 8 after taking a little bit of time off. Nevertheless, back into this series. I'm sure HELLRAISERS want to get hold of a decent amount of that prize pool. Also a boot camp out in Malta. My question is, Jay, since Gambit have won about 3 or 4 of these tournaments, one of the prizes is a week out in Malta. Do they get the month out in Malta at some point? Do they just get to live there, temporary residency?
Maybe that'd be cool. Or just like 4 boot camps that they could use like before events. Maybe you just get like a little token, a little like Willy Wonka ticket that says like 1 free boot camp, and you can kind of just use it over the course of like a year. That'd be quite cool.
It's the Malta boot camp season pass.
Yeah, exactly. And then they could use them before events and things like that and actually spread them out over the year. I think that would be their best bet.
I don't know what the weather's like out in Kazakhstan. I know that it's pretty bad out in Russia, of course. Maybe Malta would be a bit of a shock to the system for them. All the palm trees. No rainy days. Nevertheless, this is a rainy day here in round number 9 for HONORIS. Neo certainly trying to bring it back, but I don't think it's good enough. Stomper 1 versus 3, which realistically he should be saving right now. Nade's going to get nothing done, only a little bit of damage. And the wallbang's going to fall on deaf ears as well. So HELLRAISERS a narrow lead again. 5-4 here in the best of one. Lots of time left for HONORIS to claw this scoreline back. And remember, we've got their fairly dangerous T side to come as well. I think that HELLRAISERS are going to be challenged in this map of Vertigo over many of the other maps that we would have possibly seen.
Possibly so. I just had this mental image of all the Gambit Youngsters players just like plastered in sun cream in Malta. Got like big sun hats on and umbrellas. It's just too hot for them.
Just like really overly white. Like that guy on the beach. Nobody wants to rub sun cream into his back. So he's just got a big white streak. He's like walking around the beach with his little cocktail. Hey, would you help me out? Would you rub sun cream into my back?
It's just red raw.
No, I'm off, mate. I'm off. I'm sorry. They pick up their towel and leave the beach. They weren't going anywhere. They were looking for a good day, but nobody wants to touch that hairy back, Jay.
Well, I'm not sure if that'd be a problem for the Gambit Youngsters. We'll have to see. Youngsters in the name. They might not have hairy backs.
I'm not sure. Let's not get into that. 5-4 and a 5 versus 4. Kalinka did take a lot of damage in that initial engagement, but surviving on 7 HP is nevertheless an advantage. Here is Honoris' numbers are thinned once again. 2 defenders towards A, 2 on B. And I think Stomp might be going for the rotate towards the middle of the map, so he can be hot on the attacker's heels towards this side of things. And I don't think Honoris have any information as of this point. Those smokes are going to give them a little inkling to work with. The Molotovs as well, forcing these defensive stances out of position. They've got to take the fight before this gets all too up close and personal. Flourish, another headshot, and it might be save time for Honoris. Their defense is absolutely crumbling here on B. I think JLM through this smoke as well might be able to just trade this one straight through. It's Smoke City on B. And Honoris, they get absolutely crunched once more. 6-4.
They really do. That's so unfortunate as well, because that flash that came through was absolutely perfect. So when Bryko swung, he had 3 targets that were all full blind, but Flaric, whilst blind, lands a fantastic headshot, and that really opens up that B site. Means that they can just charge in. The wall of smokes gives them plenty of room as well. And then they can just get up close and personal to those orcs, completely overwhelm them. Put that 6th on the board, and while they're looking to make it a 7th, as Honoris have no money in the bank, only a pistol investment into this round. HELLRAISERS certainly back in the driving seat after a shaky sort of 4 rounds in a row where they just really weren't looking all too good. They were playing really slow, they were being picked apart by Honoris. That's the Honoris I want to be seeing again. That Honoris where they're getting aggressive down ramp. They've got Neo trying to get a flanking from B stairs. That's what we were seeing in those rounds that they were converting. That's what I think they need to do to break HELLRAISERS in this map.
Slight opportunity with the pistols here, considering a couple of missed shots. But I think these 8Ks might be able to just overpower the defense. There's the AWP as well to chime through for the 4th. And Stomp stuck in no man's land with this Deagle, cannot connect with any of the shots. Gotta say about Stomp, he is very streaky. He's not quite leading the charge here. 8 kills, Neo has 10. His AWPing, I feel like we've not mentioned his name thus far, and maybe a tactical pause to get him back into the game. I think this has to be a confidence swing for Honoris here. They took that 4 in a row early. I thought that we might even have a competitive half on our hands, but seemingly not. Here in the best of 1 with HELLRAISERS going 7-4 up. We know that their CT side can be shaky some of the time. I want to dig into their Vertigo stats a little bit while we've got a little bit of a break in pace. They're 6-10 in terms of their wins to losses, and actually a sub 50 win percentage on both sides of this map, but significantly worse on the CT side. I'd say that, yeah, you're gunning for 8, 9, maybe even 10 here for HELLRAISERS if they're looking at winning this one. Pretty low win percentage as well. So I think in a best of 1 like this against a team like Honoris, you've got to feel like you've got fairly lucky with the initial best of 1. When you consider some of the other teams in this tournament, you could have been put against Gambit Youngsters first. You could have been put against one of the best teams, and you get Honoris. I feel like that is a bit of a lucky stroke. So maybe floating Vertigo is a bit of a disrespect pick. You can get punished for it. You obviously want to get the practice in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you look at actually the group they've been put in as well, I think they've got quite lucky there. Some of the groups that they could have ended up in are really, really difficult ones. Obviously, Group B with Apex and Contact Gaming, Team Spirit. Group D with Fours, Gambit Youngsters, and Pact. Like, these are some really, really dangerous groups. So to be facing up against Honoris, I think HELLRAISERS comfortably know that they can beat Honoris. They know that they should be able to beat the Lyngby Vikings, and they know that they could beat Na'Vi Junior. I think they're the 2 teams that I think will actually end up on opposite ends of the bracket, and they probably won't end up playing each other. But I think that they're pretty comfortable in their current group and are quite confident in their ability to make it to the playoffs here. They just have to make sure that they don't have any hiccups and end up losing a best of 1 to Honoris and put themselves in a really difficult position straight off the bat. This is their opportunity to secure that, make sure that they increase their chances of making this playoff spot.
Well, definitely an opportunity here to get an easy best of 1 on the board. As the AK-47s once more completely rip apart these pistols. Only 1 secured AK-47 for Raiko. I think he's actually going to go for this here. 1 versus 3, but HELLRAISERS do seem to be very well set up to deal with this one. They've even got the flank in full effect. I guess if he finds these kills quickly, there's the opportunity to try and retake, try and get the defuse through, but that defuse kit, I feel like Flaric would be here right in the nick of time, and you see that wrap coming in from behind, not even needed. His problem does hit the body shot. Going to be a 9th on the board for HELLRAISERS. 1 away from double digits on this T side, exactly where you want to be sat here in Vertigo. This is absolutely ideal. HONORIS, I don't think the money's going to be necessarily pressured. The silver lining regarding losing 6 in a row here is you do have that max loss bonus in full effect. You can pick up $3,400 at least of investment in each and every one of these rounds. I think they will be a little bit pressured if they lose this one without any saves. Nevertheless, it's an AWP or lots of assorted M4s. Nevertheless, let's see if HELLRAISERS can push this onto double digits and beyond.
That's really the issue right now for HONORIS. They have several players that have seriously brought down to the 0 mark, so they will have a limited investment if they can't convert this one or save any weapons. JLM does get spotted out. Oh my, that's a shame. He should have been able to get away there, but he gets stuck on the railing and it costs him his life. JR finds one back in the meantime, and huge damage dealt to Stomp. Puts HELLRAISERS back in the driving seat. They've taken loads of control. Stomp shouldn't have been allowed to find that one, but he converts it and sways the numbers back in his team's favour. Flaric needs to go huge here and find at least 1, preferably 2. He does exactly that. JR comes in and picks up the pieces, and Prism now has a 1v2 on his hands to try and keep his team in this one. He's got the bomb down, a good opportunity for him to do so, but he has no idea of Kalinka's position at this point. The last time he was spotted was ages ago. He could be anywhere by now.
This angle towards mid is incredibly awkward, and I think Prism might be about to walk into JR's AWP. 1 shot given. It's actually a whiff from the CIS sniper. Gives Prism another opportunity in the 1 versus 2. Lots of damage dealt. Now, a realistic threat here in the clutch scenario. Has quite an awkward angle. He does get spotted out, and JR's not going to miss twice. You can't give him those opportunities. 10-4. HELLRAISERS making shapes of this HONORIS squad, one of which is a Prism, and they're being absolutely slaughtered here on Vertigo, which realistically should be their home map. And realistically, what's going wrong? 10-4. Good option to get up to 11 here for HELLRAISERS. They have everything invested. I actually think they have a couple of upgraded pistols as well with this much money built up. All of the nades, of course, should be, on paper, a fairly easy 11.
Absolutely, especially considering, look at this buy from HONORIS. They have such limited utility. An MP9, a couple of FAMASs. Whereas HELLRAISERS right now have got everything they could possibly want and 10k to spare behind them, despite the fact it's the last round. I think someone even had like a Tech 9 bind or something, because as they left spawn, I just saw a sea of Tech 9s on the floor. That really shows how much money they really have. So, preliminary damage dealt early, so they've taken this ramp control. JLM's still going to stay there, but ooh, him and JR fall. Flaric is able to find one back, but he needs to get away here and support his teammates on B. That's exactly what he does. He's able to bring the bomb to help. If they can find this single kill, they can take this B site and they might be able to convert this round.
Through that dawning smoke, problem does go down. Nevertheless, an opportunity. Flaric needs to tap the digits into that bomb on the B bomb site. Kalinka's getting aggressive. It's happening once again. Stomp with a couple of shots. Prism's flank, I think it's already been spotted. And with Kalinka nailing another, this MP9 looks down on its luck from the flank. He gets absolutely nothing for his troubles. There's a flashbang as well to caution him back. This has gone all wrong for HONORIS. This 1 versus 2 that looked very possible now looks anything but. Kalinka's going to go for the swing. Doesn't spot anything. His Prism starts to sneak his way through in the 1 versus 2. He's got a good angle, but Kalinka finds the shot. That's an 11th on the board for the HELLRAISERS. A fairly flawless half. For HONORIS, it was only 4 in the very center, and I'm sure we're about to see those loot bet odds as we get into the second half, and boy, they're not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I'm sure they won't. This always seems to be the thing with HONORIS. They kind of have a burst of rounds. It's normally more than 4, where they're looking really promising and you think like, oh, they've definitely got a chance here, and then they just throw it away again. And look at those odds from our partners over at LootBet. 11-1 Honoris sit, whereas HELLRAISERS, not only are they the hot favourites, they're almost the guaranteed favourites. Everybody placing their money on the CIS side. Don't fancy these polls at all. This is so rough for Honoris. Even in that final round, which should have just inherently been theirs after Neo found that frag. It's a 2-on-4 there, to flank in play, and it all fell apart, and that's what's happening so far this pistol round. JR opens things up with a nice headshot. Flaric whiffs though, and this gives Honoris an opportunity to get onto this site and get this plant. They have a man advantage. The retake's coming in fast, and as the smoke starts to dissipate, they are going to push in for this one. Oh, the damage coming through though. Prism and Taz have actually found themselves a couple of kills, and Kalinka gets taken out. That's all over. Honoris somehow convert the pistol round. It gives them an opportunity to close this gap, but still 6 rounds consecutively needed to take it 11-11. And HELLRAISERS, well, they're forcing right into this one. They want to bounce back with the SMGs and pistols. They want to try and close this one out sooner rather than later.
I wouldn't say that this buy is too bad from HELLRAISERS. Obviously on the T side with the bomb down, you would be going for a buy like this. On the CT side, it's a little more difficult. Extreme range shot onto Prism. That is a little peculiar, isn't it? At that sort of range, you think that the MP9s are probably going to react awfully. The problem with a great angle, and there's the damage to follow. 2 players fall for Honoris. A flash right through, and almost the opportunity to find 2. Finally taken care of.
Well, these MP9s, obviously the damage decreases over range, but the damage isn't a massive issue, especially if you can get that dink in. It's just the fact that actually the spray pattern kind of goes quite wide when you're on that long range. It's very difficult to control. It seemed that they seem to be able to handle that perfectly. And look at this positioning from JLM. He's so far behind enemy lines. This could be perfect. No one's actually anywhere near him, so this flank's going to be deemed fairly redundant for now. He might be able to come through in the post plant and have an element of surprise on these guys, but I'm sure they'll expect it. The man advantage lies in their favour for now nonetheless. Kalinka jumping up wants to try and deny this plant. Spot stomp in the meantime and actually deals some damage. Here's the flank from JLM. It is being watched by Neo, but if he gets timing right, he might be able to creep up here.
This is all about timing, and while the AK-47 does take control, Honor is still down on numbers, have to be very careful, and that's a stunning headshot. Taz out in the open, he's going to get flanked, and now an opportunity to get on this defuse. I think there's enough time left. It's going to be cut quite close. 5 seconds left without the kit. This is going to come down to the last second. J, 1 second left. He's definitely got it. 12-5 there. HELLRAISERS back on the board once again, and the gamble pays off on their CT side. Here's the replay now. I'm sure it's all of those kills coming through. This is the long-range MP9 frag that we saw earlier on in the round, and that is a fitting replay. I really do like that there. You don't often get to see those.
You really don't. The ball's on that player as well to just jump straight into ramp and take whatever fights are there, especially knowing that you're going to be against a buy. Really nice stuff. I like the attempt from JR to go for the kills with the auto shotgun. It doesn't quite pay off for him. Honoris have actually invested right back into this one. And Kalinka now with this M4 needs to try and hold up this side. Flaric has found himself one of his own. Kalinka gets one too, and the headshot comes through. Only the auto shotgun to do the work, and Flaric cleans him up. Honoris, it was looking promising when they found those first 2. Thought they might get a bomb plant there, but it's denied at the door as HELLRAISERS put themselves onto 13. And that's just got to be so crushing. When you win your pistol round, when you're actually down 11-4 as well, you come into the second half, you win your pistol round, you think, right, come on boys, we can string together a few rounds off of this, and we can maybe close this gap and be in contention still. And then for it to just bounce right back the other way and for you to lose to the Deagles, that can be really rough. They now sit firmly behind, and JR this time opens things up with the auto shotgun.
It's such a cheeky weapon. I'm sure that we see it more and more nowadays. Here comes seemingly all of the CTs to take these gunfights. HELLRAISERS, they've just got bags and bags of confidence here in this best of one. Just taking all of the Angels, and they seem to be winning the majority of them. Look at how the scoreboard just reflects on this. A 3 versus 1 once again. This time Prism's going to be the young gun under challenge. And very likely soon under fire. This is very likely going to be a 14-5 performance for HELLRAISERS. Maybe even able to close this out in the next couple of minutes. And, well, that HONORIS series win rate is going to decrease yet again. They don't even have to win 1 out of 3 series for it to increase. But they seem to be having real problems against this sort of tier of opposition. Savage. The Emperor dispatch of him nicely. 14 rounds.
I do wonder, I know there's a lot of this caliber of CS tournaments going on at the moment, but I do wonder if HONORIS would do better in some of these lower tier tournaments. It seems like against teams like this, week in, week out on Malta Vibes and 9-5, they seem to just get knocked out in the group stages almost every single time. I haven't seen them get through to the playoffs in any of the matches I've casted yet, and I feel like I wonder how they'd do if they sort of took it down a tier, played against maybe like some more tier 3 stuff, and maybe rack up some wins there, build up some confidence.
Basically saying that they should go and play some matchmaking.
Maybe not matchmaking. I'm not giving them that much BM. I'm just saying they're struggling at this level. They're struggling. It's very clear.
I'm obviously only joking as well. It's got to have a big mental factor when you're ex-major champions as well, like in the form of Taz and Neo especially. They were kings of the world at one point, and, well, been quite some history since then. Another 3 versus 3 opportunity on the B-bomb site. This one, HONORIS might actually be favoured. They've got the Kevlar to try and get the job done. All the smoke's placed as well to hold HELLRAISERS at bay. They're going to have to go straight through this fire and flames as the smokes dissipate. They are watching all of these angles, and Raiko, they don't even give Stomp the AWP in this one. He's going to try and get the job done single-handedly. Spot out Stomp, so this is some preliminary information, but no support from the AWP. Raiko, he's baiting his teams out. The smokes are placed once more. The bomb down on this site. They're running out of time. There's another pair of shots from Neo to finally put a 6th on the board for HONORIS. That was a bit of a scrappy finish there over in the 20th, and maybe an opportunity on this T side.
A scrappy finish, but quite a nice start to allow HONORIS to get onto that B-bomb site and retrieve some weapons. They still need 8 in a row to level this one up. Preferably 9 or 10 to close it out. Now they've got the tools to do so. It really feels like there's so many of HONORIS' rounds. They've been down to like Galils and things like that, or there's been no AWP available, or there's been limited utility. It's nice to see everyone with their favourite weapon. And Stomp showing that he's a very happy Stomp with that AWP in his hand. Opens things up with a nice headshot. Kalinka falls as well. And HELLRAISERS might just give up another round here and be forced onto an eco. So an opportunity for HONORIS to wriggle their way back into this game, but it's still a long road ahead for them. JR's in a fantastic position to find Prism if he aggresses further here.
That's a nice little swing, but doesn't quite level out the numbers. And as Stomp finds a second, this does put a little bit of pressure on HELLRAISERS here in this 21st round, I should say. Get it right, 1 minute. Should be a 7th on the board for HONORIS. The money is very shaky after the 4 spike here at the HELLRAISERS as well. So, preferentially, I would prefer to just eat a single eco, go into round number 23 with a full bite, and try and close this one out sooner rather than later. Don't want to allow these best of ones especially to drag on long. Specifically against a momentum-based team like HONORIS. You see them a lot of the time, they'll win 12 rounds in a row, sometimes they'll lose 15 rounds in a row. A lot of their series are a tale of 2 cities, and this one could be much of the same. Getting up to 7 here, still an opportunity on their T side, but they've got to claw back a lot more rounds than just this.
Well, I touched upon this in the first half. The fact that HONORIS seem to have these little bursts of energy where They're playing some really weak Counter-Strike, and then all of a sudden they take a round, it builds up their confidence a little, and they seem to string together a few off of it. And it's not just like luck-based or anything like that. They actually show some really strong Counter-Strike in those rounds. But then as soon as something doesn't go their way and HELLRAISERS end up picking up a round again, they just lose that groove. That's what we saw in the first half. They took those 4 rounds initially after going 3-0 down. They took 4 in a row. They were looking really strong in those 4 rounds as well. Actually, 2 of those 4 were full buys for HELLRAISERS, where HONORIS just completely dominated them. And then all of a sudden, they lost a round after it. They lost their groove completely, and they ended up having an 11-4 half against them. We're seeing a lot of the same here, but the issue is they don't have any more rounds to play with. If they lose another, HELLRAISERS go on to match point. They have to make sure that they play perfect Counter-Strike from here on out. Ryko is going to be mowed down by those USPs, and Taz is in a dangerous position. He has to pull back here. I love it when eco rounds kick off like that with some excitement. I think they just get shut down from here on out.
This is still a little bit touch and go. I think Kalinka's been firmly and fully spotted through, especially with this flank in full effect. I like that angle from Taz. Should end any complications in this 22nd and push HONORIS on to number 8. There's at least an AK-47 salvage for problem. Don't think there's the opportunity to get a lot more done here. I'd rather just keep hold of this premium rifle, go through into the next round with a fairly wholesome buy. See that their money's going to be pretty decent here. I think that they're up to $2,900 loss bonus at this point. So every opportunity that they can swing this one to a victory here sooner rather than later, but they've got quite a few opportunities to do it. They are stuck, obviously, on this CT side in a bit of an eco cycle, where it's one kind of good buy, and then a full eco / a force buy, depending on how ballsy you want to play it. In this scenario, it's AK. Don't know if they'll have an AWP here. Problem obviously can't drop one, and JLM doesn't want to be stuck without body armor. So 5 automatic rifles, deprived of that sniper. And on the HONORIS side, Stomp is holding that AWP. So a bit of a firepower advantage for HONORIS. Still everything up in the air to play for.
You're absolutely right. On a map like Vertigo, especially when you've got a player like JR on your team who is a primary AWP, yeah, that's what he's known for. That's why he's on this side, because he's fantastic with that scoped rifle. To not have an AWP available can certainly cause you problems. Instead, they're trying to deal with it with aggression. Then they push right through the smoke. JLM, the flash is perfect from his teammate, and he's able to line up 2 of them. Huge damage onto Stomp as well. HONORIS have to respond here. They have to try and level out these numbers. And Taz is the man to try and do it. Creeping up ramp, spots out 1, deals a little bit of damage. Isn't allowed a whole lot more than that, but what a fantastic start from HELLRAISERS. They know they have the lack of the AWP. They know that that means that they can't take that initial man advantage. And instead, JR is the support man. He sets up his teammate for a perfect double kill.
Can't remember the last time I saw a flashbang blind all 5 Ts like that. Usually at least one person gets away scot-free, but HONORIS didn't have anybody to respond to that. And they're not giving up on this A-bomb site. Taz going for all of the frags, only able to find the 1. This is definitely a problem here for HONORIS, especially being 1 away from HELLRAISERS' match point in this series. Stomp, the last survivor on the T side. He's being locked out of there. Yes, he's got the bomb on his back, but 20 seconds left. He's running out of time. He's run out of teammates. I think he's running out of openings as well, with HELLRAISERS absolutely boxing him in with the AWP. He needs to do something out of this world. Instead, he's going to be blown out of this map. 15-8, 7 chances to finish.
Well, you've always got to be quite confident when you're on match point. And look at this again from JLM. He could have even been allowed more there, but it's so overwhelming when you push through a smoke like that. There's 5 enemies in front of you that are all flashbanged. I think he's done quite well to find the initial 2, do damage onto the 3rd as well. Really, really fantastic stuff. HONORIS, of course, they have no issue with buying into this one. They have plenty of money in the bank to contest this. The issue really is this round deficit. They need to pull back 7 in a row to take this to OT. Right now, I don't see them doing it.
Me neither. 7 in a row. Never where you want to be stuck, on even on the T side of a map like Vertigo. Nice nade to get things started for the terrorist forces, but no closer to be. And here comes the flank. Prism's actually got it completely under wraps. That's a nice headshot. Does start things off quite strong here in round number 24 for Honoris. As we said before, they need a lot of success to get this back to overtime. I just cannot see it happening at this point. This game can end at any moment. With problem watching and waiting for this smoke, Neo's going to hit a very snappy headshot. Now it's down to Kalinka. He's pretty much the sole defense over to here towards the curly letter. Those flashes are flawless. There's another opening.
Well, they're making this one work, and they're doing it very, very convincingly. I think JR should just fall back and save here. It's looking like that's exactly what he's going to do. Wants to try and find an exit, perhaps. He's quite cautious about falling back here. He knows they're up close, and timing's just impeccable for him. He should be able to get away here. I actually really like this from HONORIS, the way they played this round, especially at the start as well, with Prism's position watching the flank. They actually take the AWP away from JR as well, which is absolutely huge. But yeah, I like that flank position, especially on a map like Vertigo, where there's so much potential for a CT to just push right down ramp when you're not contesting that control and get behind you quite quickly. It can really cause you problems in the post plant when you take that B site. So to just invest a player like Prism, just watching the backlines like that, it's going to be a free kill for him all day long. And it means that you don't have to be wary of your back. You can just focus on the task at hand, take the fights in front of you, and know that you have a post plant position after the bomb goes down that you know that is clear.
One away from double digits becomes a little bit of a danger zone here for HELLRAISERS, especially with pistols. I feel like this is going to go 15-10, and as of that point, HONORIS don't realistically need to win too many rounds in a row to force the overtime. It looked practically impossible earlier, but this is the turnaround that we do often see in CS. Let's see what HELLRAISERS have left in the tank here on this CT side. You'd think 1 out of 6 would be very, very easy. But remember, these are not all going to be full investments for them. Much of the time it will be buys like this. We talk about this eco cycle on the CT side where one buy is absolutely wholesome and fulsome, but the very next can be just pistols, even with the max loss bonus. Here, the pistols do get chopped away once more. Opportunity to just grab hold of 1 AK, and HONORIS don't really have to play too aggressive to try and hunt this one away. They've got the bomb down on this A-bomb site. Easily done here against the unarmored. No Kevlar for HELLRAISERS. JLM obviously did have a little bit of body armor, but the majority of the CT forces didn't. I think the difference maker in the next J is this AWP will come into full effect. JL has kept himself $3,400 in his back pocket. Means sniper, bit of utility. Of course, that Kevlar as well. It won't be a glass cannon.
Absolutely. It's something that we haven't seen from him in a few rounds as well. HONORIS have got quite used to not having to face up against this AWP. With JR, I'm questioning where he's going to go. I think he might go and hold that ramp position. Maybe he goes for a pick in mid. I'm not all too sure. JLM is going to fall there, and I think that the other player was just spotted but wasn't taken out. So HELLRAISERS are able to bring that AK into this next round. Problem's going to buy some utility around it as well. And there we go. JR pulls out the AWP. HELLRAISERS have a full buy going in to round number 26. And this is the start of potentially the end. They could close it out here. If they don't, they go onto an eco. Then they have another shot at it. And right now it's Stomp to open things up for HONORIS and try and deny their opponents this map win.
Oh, Neo not checking his angles. That is another danger zone here towards the B-bomb site. A little bit of visual towards mid. And Flaric does get forced away. Ankling challenged. Isolating these angles. But where is Ryko for the peak? Stomp finds one in the meantime. With mid control firmly taken and now the A-bomb site being charged, HELLRAISERS have been outmaneuvered. But without the C4 going down, Prism might be about to make the costly mistake. There's no flash. He finds the shot anyway. And now the C4 applies his time pressure in the 2 versus 2.
There's definitely potential for Kalinka and JLM to make this one work. The real issue is that HONORIS have had plenty of time to get into these positions. Stomp's got a fantastic angle, and off of his contact, Prism will surely swing. This is a very tall order for HELLRAISERS to try and pull off, especially with the bomb already more than half gone. They need to speed this one up. The smoke comes through, but it's far too late, and Prism's going to swing out off of Stomp's contact. HONORIS put their 11th on the board. They play that final 2 versus 2 situation absolutely perfectly. Before that, it wasn't the best, but it worked out for them. But right at the end there, you cannot fault the way they played that one.
And it's back to the pistols for HELLRAISERS. MP9 in hand for Problem. This is not an ideal buy for the favourites. Probably not much opportunity to close it out here in this 27th. Instead, a chance for HONORIS to close this scoreline and turn the screw once again. Nice aggression here, but I think it's been heard. And with Prism holding a back and passive angle, the opportunity for HONORIS to thwart this attack one more time. Must be easily crawling back these rounds as well. HONORIS, an impressive T side. Just a shame that they were only able to take 4 on their defensive half. Otherwise, this would be very possible right now. Even with 5 or 6, they'd be on 12, 13 rounds. HELLRAISERS would be stuck on 14 or 13 rounds themselves. And this would be even closer to the finish line for the Poles. Unfortunately, with such a weak opening half, it does run the risk that if we make any mistakes here, this could end even earlier. Neo out in the open needs to be very careful. It's the Deagle instead. The majority of the defense spotted, and realistically, HONORIS need to fall off these angles. Yes, the AK-47s can be salvaged. And backtracking towards the A bomb site, I think Taz is getting all of this information. This should be a double back towards B here, Jay.
That might just be the case. HELLRAISERS have been allowed equity in a round that they shouldn't have. Kalinka's in a good position to take out Taz here. If he can do so, it might just be the deal sealed, but Taz comes through when needed. That's going to clear out this B bomb site. His teammates are going to come in for the plant, and Taz is hungry for more. Deals loads of damage, but takes some himself, and as JLM takes him out, there's potential again for HELLRAISERS to convert this. An quick shot, and it leaves it all down to Flarich. A 2 versus 1. He's against the AK and the AWP here. I'm not sure if he can do anything. I think he might just grab this AK and fall right back. Instead, he's actually going for this. Very limited health. 2 players to find. He has no idea where they are. Stomp's just going to make easy work of that shot. HONORIS do salvage that one again. It's looking very, very dangerous for them in so many of these rounds. And as HELLRAISERS are back on the buy here, I think they've got an opportunity to make this work.
Does this remind you of something, Jay? This whole map?
What does it remind me of? We've seen a lot of series like this recently where the teams had an abysmal first half and then brought it back, but I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to.
No, it reminds me of the HELLRAISERS game that we casted the other night versus Skade. HELLRAISERS took 13-2 opening half. It went back 16-14 with HELLRAISERS taking it at the very end. This seems very reminiscent of that best of 3, to be perfectly honest with you.
Maybe that shows issue with HELLRAISERS actually closing out maps then. They're able to come in with loads of confidence, take a really strong early lead, and then start to throw it away towards the end. That might come into play here. I do actually remember that map very, very well. We've seen a couple like that recently too. The Copenhagen Flames 4's game, of course, being another one that felt similar. Right now, Taz is just ripping through this. I mean, look, he's just come in with 2 headshots, single-handedly opened up this A site. That wall of smokes is going to allow the bomb plant as well. And whilst HELLRAISERS have done loads of damage, they're going to fall back, go for this early save call. If they don't save these weapons, then going into the next round, they have nothing to work with. And HONORIS would be able to put themselves onto 14 comfortably.
And the question here, after an opportunity to go for the full eco, why is Kalinka only stuck on a Skade? He should have a full, wholesome buy here in round number 28, but he just doesn't. It's a big gap in the defense. And realistically, you've lost so many rounds in a row. Why would you give HONORIS these sort of opportunities? It speaks to something bigger, maybe a mentality issue. I don't think it's confidence closing out a series like this. I think you're expecting to win the map outright. But now it's 15-13, an opportunity for HONORIS to realistically get to overtime. And we've seen a plethora of mistakes here for HELLRAISERS to even bring this in contention. They should never be losing a series like this, Jay. See the buy come through once again. Yes, it's a fairly whole buy from HELLRAISERS. They take a tactical timeout as a response. I think they have to get out the rifles here for the penultimate round of regulation. They've got 2 opportunities to close. Remember, it was 10 opportunities earlier.
Wow, this is not good for HELLRAISERS. I'm trying to work out. I think they would have enough money to buy into the next if they lose this one, of course, with that loss bonus. And these odds again from Loopback, they're still so heavily favoring HELLRAISERS. This surprises me. At half-time, when we saw 11-1 for HONORIS and HELLRAISERS were massively favored, I understand that, but I think HONORIS have got a pretty decent chance of leveling this one out. Those odds really surprise me.
Better's obviously not putting much stock in what HONORIS is bringing to the table on this T side. Absolutely no return for betting on HELLRAISERS right now. Maybe that does speak to a further issue. Right now, 100 seconds to get the job done. 2 opportunities for HELLRAISERS, albeit they're not going to have bags of cash around number 30. This might be overtime or bust here around number 29 here. Yeah. A force spy in the next. It's problem time. Only finds the one. Leaves Kalinka as the sole defense. These Molotovs just rain onto the B-bomb site. Neo's going to be the first man through. He misses. Here come the trades. Opportunity to get this bomb down and away, but Flaric, he doesn't get any support. Only the 1-for-1 trade once more. Stomp doesn't get the job done, and it's Ryko versus the world here to bring HONORIS into a potential overtime. I almost cannot see it happening. Falling at the penultimate hurdle here in regulation. And Ryko, oh, he's been spotted. There's one headshot, and he doesn't find any more than that. 16-13. It took an absolute barrage of rounds for HELLRAISERS to take it over the top, much like the other day. But realistically, they get it done in the end. That's what really matters, really, in the best of one.
That's really unfortunate from HONORIS in those final rounds. HELLRAISERS do